Hello, fourth graders. I would like to talk to you today about finding rules in an input and output table. As you can see, I've got an example here that I'm going to go off of. I've got an input column and an output column, and there are numbers in all of them except for this one that's missing here. So I'm going to need to figure out what is this missing number, but I also want to know what the rule is that decides what these numbers are. And so what I'm looking for is similar to what we looked for in the last unit, which is I'm looking for the pattern. What's the pattern that makes this number turn into this number? Not what's the pattern between these, because it's not really very clear. 21 to 64 to 84 to 85, that doesn't make any sense. But rather, what am I going to do to take this number to turn it into this number, and this number to turn it into that one, and so on and so on. So I have to start to look for what the pattern is. So I'm going to look at 31, and I'm going to look at 21, and I'm going to say, okay, how do I go from 31 to 21? Well, obviously 21 is smaller than 31, so I'm probably going to take something away. So I bet there's a minus here. And so how far apart are they? Well, they're 10. So this would actually be taking away 10. So can I do anything, look at this now and say, is there anything that's going to divide? Can I divide anything into 31 that's going to get me 21? Well, I'd have to divide by 2. That would give me half of that. 3 would give me, no, there's nothing that's going to get me a division in this case. So it's going to be minus 10. All right, so that's my guess. This is my hypothesis. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to check all these numbers to see whether this is true for this one, and this one. So is this one 74? Is this minus 10? 74 minus 10 would be, 64. 94 minus 10, that would be 84. 95 minus 10, that'd be 85. So therefore, this is the rule for this particular table. So I'm going to use that rule to find what this number is. 18 minus 10 is going to be 8. So that's my answer here. And then my rule is take away 10, or you could say minus 10. Either of those would be fine. Now there's another way that I can write this, and I want to show this to you here because this is what I also want you to use in your assignment. And that is this. I have an input here and an output up here. So I could call my input I, and I could call my output O. So I want to know, what is my rule in terms of my input and output? So I want to know, what is this equal to? Well, my output is going to be equal to this rule, or sorry, the input minus this rule. So it's going to be equal to, so 21 is equal to 31 minus 10. So whatever my input is, my I, minus my rule in this case. So output minus my output is equal to my input minus 10. So whatever number, 18 minus 10 is 8. 95 minus 10 is 85. All right, now I want to look at another one. This one is the same idea, except now it's kind of side to side. So again, I have this input on the top, I have the output on the bottom, I have a blank missing number. I'm going to need to figure out what the rule is that governs this table. Well, okay, now I'm looking at how do I go from 3 to 18? Well, I could either add 15, or what else could I do? I could add 15, or I've noticed here that it could be times 6, because 3 times 6 is 18. So either my rule is going to be this one or this one. I'm not sure. So I'm going to test it out on these other numbers to see which one of these shows up again and again and again. All right, so 5 plus 15 would be 20. So 5 plus 15 equals 20, or 5 times 6 equals 30. Those are two different numbers. 30 is the one that I want, so in this case, it's actually going to be times 6. So now I'm starting to see a pattern. Let's see if it works the same way in this next one. 10, let's put it up here. 10 plus 15 would be 25 versus 10 times 6 would be 60. So now I'm really pretty sure that this is my pattern. So I don't even really need these up here. Now I want to check this. Is 2 times 6 12? Yes, it is. Times 6. So I'm going to do times 6 again. 8 times 6, well, that's what? 48. So my answer here is going to be 48. And now I need a rule for this. So my rule is really times 6, isn't it? But I want to write my rule just like I wrote my rule up here with my output and input ones. So I could write, my possible rules could be times 6. It could be times 6. It could be multiply by 6. But what I want it is in terms of my input and output. So my output is equal to something. It's always output is equal to something that the input is going to do. So I'm going to, what is the rule? I'm going to take my output and I'm going to times it by 6. I'm going to take my input and times it by 6 to get my output. So my input stands for I, any one of these numbers, I times 6. So this right here is my rule that I'm going to enter into Schoology or into formatives. Output is input times 6. Let's look at that work here, okay? So I'm turning it over the page. So I've got output equals input times 6. This is my rule. Now let's look at this and see whether this works. So I've got an output of, an input of 5 and output of 30. Let's try that. Input of 5 and output of 30. Let's see if that works. So if I take this 5 and I put it in here for my input, just like that, I'm going to put it in a 5. So now I get 5 times 6. So my output is equal to 5 times 6. Well, 5 times 6, that is 30. Is my output equal to 30? What do you know? It is. So that's how we can use this rule of output equals input times 6 to test it. Does it work for one of these cases? Yes, it does. So this is really what I want you to be doing. I want you to be using the information on the table to find the pattern that governs each of these. How do I turn this number into this number? How do I go like this? Not side to side. I don't want to go this way. It's not 18 plus 30 plus 30. It's none of these things. It's top to bottom. Or in this case, it would be side to side. How do I take my input and turn it into my output? What is the rule that tells me what to do? This is what I want you to be working on in Schoology today. Good luck.